If you have backyard chickens, you know what this feels like. Some weeks you have dozens of eggs, and other weeks your chickens aren't laying anything at all. Fresh eggs can only last so long, and it feels terrible to waste them. What if you could store your extra eggs for up to a year? Today I'm going to show you 2 powerful ways to preserve your eggs: freezing and water glassing. Both options are simple, they're inexpensive, and they're perfect for those of us raising chickens in small urban environments. Stick around to the end and I'll share with you a mistake that can ruin an entire batch of preserved eggs. You don't want to miss it. You may wonder, why is preserving eggs important? If you think about it, our chickens don't lay the same amount of eggs throughout the entire year. In the fall and winter, they slow down significantly. In the spring and summer, they crank it up and are just laying constantly. As homesteaders, one of the goals is to be as self-sufficient as possible, to provide food for you and your family. And if you preserve the eggs in that spring and summer glut where you've got eggs coming out the wazoo, then in the fall and winter, when your chickens slow down laying, you have eggs for your family. And you don't have to go out and buy some at the grocery store. With the price of eggs nowadays, we want to save costs wherever possible. And if you're going to spend the money to feed your chickens, you may as well get rewarded for eggs all through the year. A traditional way to preserve eggs is water glassing. This method has been used for generations, and it stopped being practiced around the time that refrigeration came about. Because once folks had refrigerators, they could just put their eggs in the fridge and preserve them that way. Water glassing uses lime, pickling lime to be exact. You could also find construction lime in hardware stores. You just need to make sure that it is food grade. Otherwise, don't use it. Now the pickling lime, this package was about $7, $8. The construction lime is way more cost effective. You can get a 50-pound bag for just a little bit, maybe twice as much as this. So that's the way to go if you can find it food grade. For water glassing, we are going to submerge the eggs in a lime solution. It's basically this pickling lime and water. Now the lime solution protects the egg. It coats it and keeps bacteria out, which is what preserves the eggs. This method can preserve eggs for up to 2 years. Now that it's spring and the sun is out for longer, our chickens are laying way more. And so we'll be fine through the summer. We're going to use these eggs in the winter when they slow down again. So what you're gonna need for water glassing: you need a container of some sort. I'm using a 1/2-gallon mason jar. You can use a 5-gallon food grade bucket, whatever you want. Any container you have at home where the lid is going to work. So you're gonna need your container, and you're going to need water. Now what's really important here is that you do not use water that has any sort of chlorine or chemicals in it. So if you got a great filter like a Berkey or something, you can use your water, but I went and got distilled. So the ratio is 1 ounce of pickling lime for every quart of water. Now this is a 1/2-gallon container, so we are going to fill the 1/2-gallon container. That's 2 quarts, so that's 2 ounces of pickling lime. Now it is by weight, so I have my kitchen scale here. All right, we're going to get 2 ounces. $1.9. 2 ounces, perfect. And we are going to fill it with the distilled water. gonna make sure it's mixed really well. Whenever I am mixing anything in a mason jar, I always use wood or plastic. You don't want to use anything metal because that can scratch the inside of the jar and make it weak. This is especially important if it's jars that you're going to be using for canning. Now, these are eggs that we have gathered over the past 2 days. So they are freshly laid, today's eggs and yesterday's eggs. You want to use eggs that are clean, unwashed. So I checked all of them. They're nice and clean. They are not washed, so the bloom is still intact. And I'm going to take this jar and fill this jar. Now, try your best to put the eggs pointy side down. All right, so we're gonna put the eggs in. Do your best to put them in pointy side down, but it's challenging because they're going to move around. We've got 6 eggs from today and yesterday that were clean. We have more than 6 eggs technically that the chickens laid in the last 2 days, but a few of them were dirty. And they weren't extra dirty, but they had like little specks, and I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna risk it. All right, so we've got our 6 eggs in here. We're gonna give it another mix. And we are going to pour the lime solution in to cover the eggs. I'm not going to fill it all the way because every day I'm going to bring in the freshly laid eggs. Now you notice I did not fill this all the way to the top. The goal is to continue to add eggs to this until it is filled. So every day I'll go out to the coop, I'll bring in the eggs, and I will place the clean eggs in here. And we'll keep doing that, and we'll keep covering it with more lime solution until it's full. And then when it's full, we'll start on the next jar. You can see these are eggs that have been laid over the last couple of weeks. We've got plenty of eggs. We are not going to be without eggs. So for the next week or 2, all the fresh eggs will be water glassed. And we will be storing these in a dark, cool place. I'm just going to put them in our pantry. And come fall and winter, when the chickens have really slowed down, we're going to have eggs and make it so that we do not have to go to the grocery store and buy any eggs. The goal as an urban homesteader is to be as self-sufficient as possible, and this is one of the ways that we're going to do that. Now to freeze these eggs, I'm going to use super cubes. These are silicone freezer cubes, and you can use them for soup. However, for now, we're going to use them for eggs. Now I'm first going to crack the egg into the bowl to ensure that it's a good egg. I'm going to get something for the eggshells. As we use our eggs, we put the shells in here, and then when it gets full, we smash them down and actually feed them back to our chickens. It's a great way to make sure your chickens have adequate calcium. If you want to, you could also crush them to powder and use them in the garden. They're great for tomatoes. Oh. And I'm gonna do 2 at a time into the measuring cup. Whenever we make eggs, we do 2 at a time for omelets and whatnot. So I'm just gonna put 2 eggs in each of these super cubes. I'm using the eggs at the bottom of the pile first because they're the oldest. I wanna get rid of those eggs first. We'll continue freezing eggs from the overflow. And, at the end of every week, anything that's left over, we will freeze. So that's it. 8 eggs are ready to go into the freezer. Remember at the beginning, I mentioned I was going to share the biggest mistake you can make when preserving eggs. The biggest mistake is to wash your eggs. When hens lay eggs, there's a protective coating on them called the bloom. And once you wash that bloom off, that egg is no longer shelf stable. When your eggs are unwashed, freshly laid, you can leave them on the counter. They actually live here. The excess lives here. I also have a really cute little egg rack over on the counter that I use. But you don't need to refrigerate your eggs. But once you wash that bloom off, they have to go in the fridge. So please be aware of that. If you didn't know, now you do. Be sure to not wash your eggs until you're ready to use them. They can stay on the counter for 4 weeks without any trouble. Once you want to preserve them long term, you could use some of the methods we went over today: water glassing, freezing. You could also pickle your eggs. You can freeze dry your eggs. There's plenty of ways to preserve eggs. I hope that this video helped and that you are motivated to get out there and preserve your eggs for the winter time. Feel free to let me know in the comments how many chickens you have and what you do with your eggs when you have an abundance. Feel free to check out a video above, and I will see you in the next video. Happy preserving, everyone.